Let's go over some Ys and Spitzer jargon that we'll encounter. So I will frequently flip back and forth between talking about Ys channel 1, Ys 1, W1, or 3.4 microns. All of those mean the same things. It's just the first filter on, the shortest wavelength filter on the first channel of Ys. So all of those mean the same thing. Ys channel 2, Ys 2, W2 is 4.6 microns. Ys channel 3, 12 microns. Ys channel 4, 22 microns. If you're talking about magnitudes, you'll see the name of the filter in brackets. So it'll be bracket W1 or bracket 3.4 to indicate that the measure that you're talking about is in units of magnitudes as opposed to flux density. The all-Ys release is the most complete release, the one that if you're studying inertial targets is what you want. It's the whole sky, all the data that was available as of that first hibernation, all summed up. The Ys final products, the images, bear in mind, are not necessarily individually calibrated. In other words, if you look at the images, they're in units of counts. So if you want to do your own photometry, you need to look up the calibration information in the header, learn how they calibrated it, and do the math yourself. That's part of why they give you the catalogs, because they're already done. But it's really, really important to pay attention to the data quality flags because they're trying to be really complete and get absolutely everything that might be a source in the images. Sometimes there are sources that are not really there at all that appear in the catalog, and that happens most often for Ys 3 and Ys 4. And as I've said before and will say again many times, just because the computer says it doesn't mean it's right. Just because there's an object in the catalog doesn't mean it's really there. It's really important to look at the images and see if you believe what the computer is telling you. Similarly for Spitzer IRAC channel 1 is IRAC 1 or I1 or 3.6 microns. Spitzer IRAC 2 channel 2 is 4.5 microns. There's also an IRAC 3 and 4 and MIPS 1 and 2, but we don't have these data for this region. The GLIMPS project is the name of the project whose data we're using. GLIMPS did a survey of the plane of the Milky Way. They started relatively small, big for Spitzer projects, but relatively small, and they eventually did all the way around, and even then some in the galactic plane. And so by the end, of course, they were using warm Spitzer, and so they only have the first two channels. But so we're using something called the GLIMPS 360 release, which is the end of their 360-degree survey of the Milky Way, and we're specifically using their complete but less reliable archive catalog. That's the name that they use for it.